A warm welcome to all my students. Today, let us study about advent of Europeans to India. In this unit, you will study about the trade and the commerce relationship India had with Europeans, the arrival of Europeans to India for trade. You will also learn the other topic in this lesson, the Carnatic War in the background of European political developments, Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxur and Dual Government system, and the last, the British policy of aggression. So in this session, you are going to learn two topics, the trade and the commerce relationship with India had with European. The arrival of Europeans to India for trade. So these are the two topics which I am going to explain in this session. There were trade and commerce relations between India and Europe since ancient time. There was a great demand for Indian spices like pepper, cardamom, ginger and many other spices in Europe. The trade relation continued between India and Europe and other Asian countries even during Middle Age. The Arab merchants carried the Asian merchandise into Constantinople of Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire. The relation between India and Europe developed from ancient times, and it was due to the trade and commerce. The Indian spices had a great demand in Europe, so this led to a trade between India and Europe, and this started from the ancient time. It also continued during the Middle Age. The trade relation continued between India, Europe and other Asian countries during Middle Age. The trade between India and Europe started from ancient times. It even continued in the Middle Age. The Arab merchant carried the Asian merchandise into Constantinople of Eastern Roman Empire. The Arab merchant used to carry their trade into Constantinople of Eastern Roman Empire. As I've explained in the previous slides, I told you, Indian spices had a great demand. So these are the Indian spices which had a great demand in Europe. So there was a trade between India and Europe country from ancient time. From ancient time itself, there was a trade between India and Europe, and for the main reason was the Indian spices had a great demand in the Euro market. So this is how the India and Europe were having trade between each other, and the Arab country used to have the trade in Constantinople, into the Constantinople. Here is the Constantinople located, children. So this is Constantinople, where the Arab merchant used to carry the trade in the Eastern Roman Empire. And this is a place, Constantinople. Italian merchants could buy these goods and sell the goods in Europe countries like this. Constantinople was the center of an international business and considered as the gate of European trades. While Arab merchants had gained monopoly over the trade in Asian countries, Italian traders had gained a monopoly over trade in Europe. Merchandise from Asia had brought good profit to Italian merchants. So Italian merchants could buy the goods and sell it in the Europe countries. So Italian used to buy the Indian spices and sell it in the Europe country. And the important trading center was Constantinople, which was called as Gate of European Trade. Remember, Constantinople is called as Gate of European Trade because it was a center of international business and considered as the gate of European trade. So, Arab merchants had gained a monopoly over Asian countries. So, Arab merchants used to have monopoly. Monopoly means a single person having a control over the Asian country. Italian used to have a monopoly over Europe. Arab merchant, monopoly over Asian country means Italian had a monopoly over European trade. So Arab merchants in Asia and Italian merchant in Europe. Merchandise means where we buy and sell the goods. From Asia was bought, they got a good profit to Italian merchants. They used to buy and sell the goods from Asia, and through this the Italian merchants gained lot of profits. Fall of Constantinople. As I told you, Constantinople was an important center for the trade. Trade and the commerce between Asia and Europe was taking place through city of Constantinople. In 1453, the Ottoman Turks captured the city of Constantinople. As a result, all the trade route connecting the city of Constantinople came under the control of Turks. Turks started levying too many tax on the goods passing through these routes. As a result, the merchants felt the trade was not profitable. So first thing is, remember children, Constantinople was an important trading center through which the Europe and Asian traders had gained lot of profit, through which they used to carry the trade. In 1453, Constantinople was captured by Ottoman Turks. As a result, trade route connecting to the city of Constantinople came under the control of Turk. If Asian and European wanted to have a trade, they have to pass through this Constantinople, and the city of Constantinople was captured by the Ottoman Turk in 1453. Due to that, the trade route connecting to the city of Constantinople came under the control of Turk. So this was a problem which was faced by the Asian and European traders. Now, the Turk took the advantage of this situation and they started levying too many tax on these goods passing through these routes. So whenever the Asian trader and the European trader used to pass through the Constantinople, they have to pay heavy tax to the Turks. Turks used to force them to pay heavy tax. So this was a situation, and finally the merchant felt this trade was not profitable. It was undergoing a loss. In the meanwhile, two countries tried to break this monopoly of Italy. So those two countries were Spain and Portugal were attempting to break the monopoly of Italian traders. As I told you in the beginning, Asian merchants used to have a monopoly over Arab, and Italy used to have a monopoly trade in Europe. So the Spain and the Portugal were trying to break the monopoly of Italy. They started, here they means the Spain and Portugal. They started encouraging courageous sailors to find a sea route to India. Invention of compass, astrolabes and gunpowder provided further impetus to this venture. A new sea route to India. Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese sailor who left Lisbon and reached Capado near Calicut on the east coast of India in 1498. By this, he was successful in discovering a new sea route to India. This route continued to be the route of trade between India and Europe for many years. Like this, Portuguese were the first to re-establish trade between India and Europe. In 1453, Ottoman Turk captured Constantinople. Due to that, the trade between India and Europe was affected. The Spain and Portuguese took the initiative to find out the new sea route to India. With the help of compass, astrolabe, gunpowder, they were able to find out the sea route. Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese sailor who was successful in discovering a new sea route to India in 1498. And this route continued to be the route of trade between India and Europe for many years. So this Portuguese were the first to re-establish a trade between India and Europe. The map gave them the way to find out a new sea route to India, astrolabes and compass. These were the instruments which helped them to find out a new sea route to India. With the success of Portuguese, many Dutch, French and English arrived at India for trade. This development not only changed the history of India, it also changed the history of European country. So these were the four countries who came to India, European country who came to India. Portugal, Dutch mean the people of Netherlands or Holland, French, France, English, UK, United Kingdom. So these were the four European countries who came to India and changed the history of India. It also changed the history of European countries. United Kingdom, the English, France, French, Portugal, Portuguese, Netherlands, Dutch people. So remember, here is Netherlands. First, we'll start with the Portuguese who re-established a trade route between India and Europe. India and Portuguese. So remember, it was Vasco da Gama who found a new sea route to India in the year 1498. Portuguese were the first to arrive at India for the trade and were also the last to leave India on the sea route. After Vasco da Gama, Francisco de Almeida arrived in India as a viceroy of Portugal. He implemented blue water policy in order to establish a supremacy over sea instead of supremacy over land. So as I told you in the beginning, the new sea route to India was discovered by Vasco da Gama. After Vasco da Gama, it was Francisco de Almeida who arrived to India as a viceroy of Portugal, and he implemented a new policy, blue water policy. He wanted to have a supremacy over the sea instead of supremacy over land. So he tried to establish supremacy over sea instead of supremacy over land. This is a picture of Vasco da Gama who discovered a new sea route between India and Portugal in the year 1498. After Francisco de Almeida, the next Alfonso de Albuquerque, who came after Almeida, is considered as a real founder of Portuguese. So the real founder of Portuguese was Alfonso de Albuquerque. He is a real founder of the Portuguese Empire in India. He waged a battle against the Sultan of Bijapur in 1510 and won Goa. Goa became the administrative center of Portuguese administration in India, and Portuguese had absolute monopoly over India for almost a century, and their power declined with the arrival of English and French in India. So after Almeida, the next viceroy was Alfonso de Albuquerque, who came to India, and he was a real founder of Portuguese Empire in India. He fought a battle against the Sultan of Bijapur and occupied Goa. Goa became the important center of Portuguese. That is, it became an administrative center for the Portuguese. And Portuguese had a monopoly trade with India almost a century. And it started declining after the arrival of English and French. This is a picture of Francisco de Almeida, who came after Vasco da Gama, the viceroy of Portuguese. He implemented blue water policy. He wanted to establish a supremacy over sea rather than supremacy on the land. Alfonso de Albuquerque. He was a real founder of Portuguese Empire in India. He defeated Sultan of Bijapur in 1510 and occupied Goa. Goa was administrative center of Portuguese. And next, after Portuguese, the Dutch arrives to India. Dutch are from Holland or Netherlands. They established United East India Company in 1602 with the aim of doing business with Eastern countries, and entered countries like India, Java, Sumatra, Indonesia and spices-rich islands. They established warehouse in Gujarat, Bauch, Kambe, Kochi, Nagapattinam, Masulipatinam and Chinchor and other places in India. With this, they broke the monopoly of Portuguese in India. Later, unable to face competition from English and French, the Dutch limited themselves to spice-rich islands. So Dutch people had come from Holland and Netherlands, and they established a company, United East India Company, in the year 1602. The main intention to enter into the eastern country was to have a trade with those countries. They established a warehouse. Warehouse means store houses, godowns which you call it. Established in India in few places, Surat, Masulipatinam, Chinchor, Cochin, Nagapattinam. In these places they had established their warehouses, and the monopoly of Portuguese was broken by the Dutch. And later they were not able to compete with the English and French. They themselves limited to the spice-rich islands. So these are the places which were occupied by the Dutch. See the sign of the flag of a Dutch, and you will see these are the places which were occupied by the Dutch here. So here Masulipatinam, Chinchor, Nagapattinam, Cochin. So these are the places which were occupied by warehouses which was under the control of Dutch. After the Dutch, it is next the English. In 1600, December 31st, Queen Elizabeth issued a royal charter authority East India Company to trade with Eastern countries for 15 years. The company started the business formally in 1613. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir issued a royal permission to English to establish their first warehouse factory at Surat. 1600 December 31st, Queen Elizabeth will give the permission for East India Company to have a trade in India for 15 years. First, in the beginning, when they came to India in the year 1613, they had only intention of expanding their business. First, they will meet the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, and he issued a royal permission for English to establish a warehouse at Surat. Queen Elizabeth, who gave the permission for East India Company to have a trade in India for 15 years. And these are the places which later they had the trade in different places in India. So English places you have to remember. In 1617, Sir Thomas Roe arrived at the court of Jahangir as royal ambassador for the court of James I. He sought permission from Jahangir to establish factories in other places of Mughal Empire. English established factory in Agra, Ahmedabad and Brouch. In 1639, English took Madras from the king of Chandragiri and established a strong fort named St. George Fort. Later, Charles II, the Prince of England, gave Bombay as an annual rent of £10 a year to East India Company in 1668. So first, Sir Thomas Roe, who arrived to India and took the permission from Jahangir to establish factory in other places of Mughal Empire. He is the royal ambassador of the court of James, and he was successful in establishing in many places Agra, Ahmedabad and Brouch. In 1639, English took Madras under their control from the king of Chandragiri and established a strong fort named St. George Fort. And Charles II, the Prince of England, gave Bombay to the East India Company at the annual rent of £10, a yearly rent it was. Annual rent. In the year 1668. So Jahangir, who gave the permission for Thomas Roe, Sir Thomas Roe, to have a trade in India and to establish a warehouse at Surat. And he was a royal ambassador of the court of James I. In 1690, English purchased 3 villages on the bank of Hooghly River and built Fort William. The city of Calcutta grew around this fort. By 17th century, English had established Bombay, Madras and Calcutta as a center of their presidency. By the later part of 18th century, English made Calcutta as their capital city and they implemented their own civil and criminal procedure codes in area that were under their control. So after getting permission from Jahangir, they had few places under their control for trade, and later from the king of Chandragiri, they were able to get Madras under their control, and Prince Charles gave them the Bombay as an annual rent of 10,000 pounds. And with that, 3 more places they got near river Hooghly and built a Fort William. By 17th century, English had established Bombay, Madras, Calcutta as the center of their presidency. In the 18th century, the English made Calcutta as their capital city and implemented civil and criminal procedure code in the area that were under their control. Next, the 4th European country who entered into India was French. The French East India Company started as a government-owned company in 1664. It started its first factory in Surat in the year 1668. Later, they established factory in Machilipatnam, Chandranagar, Mahe, Karaikal, Kasim Bazar. So these are the places where they established their factory. In 1674, the French took Valikandapuram. Valikandapuram is located in Tamil Nadu from a local Muslim official and developed it as a major trade center. And that center is Pondicherry or Puducherry. Dupleix, who arrived in Pondicherry as the Governor General of French, had the high ambitions of establishing French as a major power in South India. So first it was Portuguese. After Portuguese, the Dutch arrived to India. After the Dutch, it was English. After English, it was the French who arrived to India. The French East India Company was established in the year 1664, and it started its first factory in Surat in the year 1668, and many other places they had established their factories in Chandranagar, Mahe, Karaikal. In these places they had established. And French also took Valikandapuram from a local Muslim official and developed it as a major trading center. And Dupleix, who arrived in Pondicherry as a Governor General of French, had a high ambitions of establishing French as a major power in South India. So this is a picture of Dupleix who arrived to India as a Governor General of French, and his main intention was to occupy South India, wanted to establish a French empire in South India. That was his intention, children. And these are the place which was occupied by the French. See the symbol here, sign they have showed, the places which were occupied by the French here. Mahe, Karaikal, these are the important places you have to remember. Puducherry, you call it as Pondicherry. So these are the important places which was occupied by the French. So now we'll start with the assignment. How did the trade take place between India and Europe during Middle Ages? During Middle Ages, the trade between Europe and India was carried on along several routes. The Asian part of the trade was carried on mostly by Arab merchants, while the European part was monopoly of Italian merchants. The goods from Asia were carried by Arab merchants into Constantinople, which were bought by Italian merchants and sold in Europe. Discuss the reason that resulted in the discovery of new sea route to India. Now here you have to write reasons that resulted in discovery of new sea route to India. You have to start it from in the year 1453. In 1453, Ottoman Turk captured the city of Constantinople and bought all the route connecting the city under its control. The Turk started levying too many tax on the goods passing through the route, making trade unprofitable. Meanwhile, Spain and Portugal were attempting to break the monopoly of Italian traders. They started encouraging sailors to find a new sea route to India. The invention of compass, astrolabe and gunpowder provided further impetus to this venture. So these are the points have to be written in the second question. The reasons which led to discovery of new sea route to India. The next question is regarding make a list of Europeans who arrived at India to do business. And all of you know which are the 4 European countries which arrived to India, children? First one, Portuguese. Second, Dutch. Third, English. And the last, French. So, these are the questions have to be written in the homework book. Thank you, children. Remaining concept will be explained in the next session. Thank you, children.